Y'all, welcome to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. I am your host, Giovanni, the Healthy Habits and Lifestyle Coach. In today's episode, y'all, I can't wait till you get into this story. We got Mylira. She is a licensed clinical social worker, and she has so many different healing modalities for you. With this mental health background, y'all just get ready. Get ready. Get ready, get ready. But before we even dive into this episode, y'all already know what time it is. Dive with me, y'all. Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Mylira, man, thank you so much for coming on to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast.
Yes.
Girl, you are the bomb.com. Like, it was just, man. First, let's just even start this thing off. Like, when it comes to Mylira, what has been your soul founded purpose thus far in this journey called life? Let's just dive straight there because you already have an empowering life. So let's just drive there. What do you believe has been your soul found purpose with this thing called life?
So my soul found purpose is helping other people see that their life is worth living. To be a person that almost added to the 139 successful suicides every day. I know what it feels like to be in a dark place. So if I can be a shining light to any person to keep them going, to keep them from giving up, to keep them pressing forward, for me, that's everything. So that is literally my purpose, for people to see that they were created, formed, and fashioned with purpose, that they're bigger than their circumstances, they're bigger than their ailments, they're bigger than diagnoses, they're bigger than trauma. Their life is still worth living, even with the challenges that may come up.
That is beautiful. See, y'all, I'm telling you, she coming in jam-packed, full throttle already, and I absolutely love it. So that's already inspiring. We only 2 minutes and 29 seconds into the episode, and she's already sitting there giving you life, giving you hope. And I just hope this continues out throughout the episode. But y'all, let's get into it, because you said despite diagnosis, what got you into this journey of healing to where this is just what your intention was, not just for yourself, but I know it became for others, but it had to start with yourself. It had to start with yourself. So what was it?
So becoming a social worker was important to me because when I was 17, that was my first actual suicide attempt. And it was at that moment I felt so alone, to struggle with my own post-traumatic stress disorder and sexual trauma, obesity, bullying, the list goes on. To be such in a dark place, it was like, yo, like, God, you saved me. And obviously you saved me for a reason. So let me figure out what that reason was. So I literally went on a journey of becoming what I felt I needed growing up. My own emotional support, my own mental support, learning tools and things like that helped me get out of a dark place. And I've just jumped into it and committed into that space. So when it comes to like the therapy side of healing and the mindset, I knew that I had to stop being my own bully and figure out how to be a cheerleader. So I did that with my education. Now, as far as like healing modalities like Reiki, I got into that for my children. Both of my children have allergies that spark asthma, and I got so tired of giving them medicine, nebulizer, breathing treatments after breathing treatments, and nothing would help. And something kept telling me to place my hands on them. And around that same time, there was this young lady named Ava Laura, and she was a Reiki master. And she kept talking about this healing modality where you just place your hands and you set the intention. It is laced in Chinese culture, which I have a really big appreciation for. But it was to heal my children. No mom want their kids to not be able to sleep, not be able to run and play and things like that because they're having asthma attacks. And that's where that healing modality really started. And it literally have grown. I've helped women who have had multiple miscarriages actually go full term in their pregnancy. It has gone international as well. I've have a few clients in Nigeria that I do virtually. I've done women who have experienced trauma. I've done people who was transitioning to the other side as an ancestor and helping to find peace. So for me, it was just, I realized that sometimes if we just set the intention and be present with people, we can heal them. And I've dived deep into it for my children and for other people who may have not been exposed to other ways of healing.
So for those who might not have even heard of Reiki, can you break down what that healing modality really is? Because it sounds like you're saying you can put hands on them, but you've also been able to do this virtually. Can you explain the practice a little bit?
So Reiki is really an intentional based energetic practice. You are able to tap into what is your own natural gifts. I tell people it is all intention based. So it's really big on your chakra systems. We are mind, body, and spirit. Mind, you go to therapy for. Body, you exercise. But what do we really do with spirit outside of going to whatever your religious practice, organized things are? There's other ways to heal your spirit. We're energy. So sometimes a lot of our illnesses and our sicknesses that we have, they reside in our energetic being. And what Reiki does is help dismantle those things that are stuck. So for example, if I have someone who experiences trauma, because I am a trauma therapist, they can come to me and we can deal with the mindset. We can shift it. We can change it. We can change lifestyle, but they still feel like there's something there that's stuck. And it's because that trauma also spoke to the inner core of them. So what Reiki does is help me release the energy that is held stagnant within your body. And it's all about belief. Really, it's all about intention. And I place my hand in specific places with that intention and utilizing some of the tools and skills that they give us to help release some of the energy. But it really is simply put, intentionally placing my hands on specific parts of your body to assist with releasing the energetic blockages that you may have that may be causing other ailments.
That's beautiful. Thank you for walking us through that. I've also heard of people when they're in search of a Reiki practitioner that they're really mindful and they want to be more knowing of what that life or belief system is of that Reiki practitioner. Like, are they plant-based? What all do they have going on in their own life prior to being a part of that practice? And because you broke that down, I can better understand why. Because if it's all about the energy, you'd hate for that person's energy to be off or wrong, or certain types of energies in their body that you already don't want to come in contact with. Is that something that you believe strongly too?
I do. I believe that we're energetic beings. Before I open up my mouth and before my presence is even felt physically, you feel me energetically. I tell people I'm such a huge spirit. So when I walk in a room, I don't even have to open up my mouth. I shift the atmosphere, literally. And because I know that, I am very intentional about who I accept as a client. I break down those things. I am naturally empathic. And in some worlds, they'll call me a prophet. In other worlds, they'll call me a fortune teller, because I genuinely feel people energy. So I, even as a practitioner, have to be even more mindful about how I take care of myself and my body. I have certain people that I allow to practice the modality on as well, so I can make sure I'm balanced and maintained. But if I am having a bad day, I will reschedule. I'm big on energy. Like, I'm not going to dump my energy onto you. I do believe that people have to understand their practitioners. So like for me, I am a Reiki master, but I'm a Christian. And I'm probably one of few that kind of blends the two. I'm a big believer that the same way Jesus placed hands and he healed, that's my mindset of it. I still know all of the Western culture and all of that and how to really do it, but I've been able to tailor it more to a more Christian faith and Holy Spirit led. So I'm really big on that. So I let people know, if you're looking for a practitioner that is more universal laws and things like that, I do that too. But my foundation is, I believe that the Holy Spirit really guides me in what I'm doing. And I communicate that with my clients so that they can know what direction I'm coming from, or what I'm really pulling from. And I think that's important, to really know what type of energy your person is working with.
And when you talk about energy, and we kind of talked about it beforehand, and you kind of hit on it about people changing lifestyles and the mindset that they need to have. What is your process of helping people shift through that thought process to being able to become aware, to dismantle that fear, so they can embrace this lifestyle or just living, you know?
So I tell people we literally put our creator, whatever creator you believe in a box. Literally. And we place limitations on that creator. So for me, yes, I'm Christian, but I went 5 years of exploring every religious studies under the sun. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And as much as people wonder what that journey was, it taught me a greater appreciation of all things is created by the creator. So then it made me have a different mindset of certain practices and a different mindset of certain things that I'm able to put things into my lifestyle that other people may be like, but you're Christian. I'm like, and I am, but I believe that God is a God of all these things. So for me, I'm a radical, hands down. I tell people, don't be afraid to try something that God brought to heal you, because there's a lot of times where we may try medicines or we may try certain things that just don't work. I don't know if you've ever read the book or watched the movie of The Secret. That has literally changed my life, my mindset. It talks about the law of attraction, and we attract the things that we think about. You know, what you think become things. So I'm really big when I'm talking to clients and things like that. We manifest the life that we live. Sometimes we don't want to hear that, especially if you're going through trials and tribulations, but you genuinely manifest that. What I focus on is what I get. So I tell people that are looking to heal or do certain things, stop focusing on what you don't want no more. Stop focusing on you don't want those broken relationships. You don't want this illness. You don't want this. Tell me what it is that you do want, and let's create a plan from there. So that's how I challenge people. Because the only way that we're going to get over your fear is if I actually encourage you to dream again, if I actually encourage you to look at that vision. And then from there, I can show you what other healing modalities are out there. Because I'm really big in astrology, which is different again for a Christian. I do my natal chart. I'm into human design. Like, I believe that everything has a purpose and a meaning, and each of those things help you get closer to who you are. So I'm one of them people, I'll say, hey, you tried it this way and you're still lost. So if you're going to try it this way and you're still lost, if we try these other things and it works, who's to say that it is a demonic entity? Who's to say? Like, so for me, I'm really that person where I give people options. Like, I've studied so much that I'm confident and I can stand firm and like, here are the options that can really help you with where you are. Whether that is utilizing sound. So binaural beats, like, I'm really big into meditation. So I actually created a meditation CD that has specific beats behind it that also heals as well. So I'm just really big on try everything until the thing that you try fits. Because sometimes we'll try that one thing because our family always tried it, but it still don't work for us. Or because our religion may tell us we need to do X, Y, and Z, but I believe you can have Jesus and the therapist at the same time. So it's that space of just giving people permission to explore other ways of healing. Because if you always do what you've always done, you always going to get what you always got. And I just challenge people to do something different.
I love it. And I appreciate you for walking me through that journey. And I love that you said give yourself permission to heal and do that in so many other ways, because I feel like sometimes people see, oh, I'm on this healing journey, and they think it's a one-way street, when it's just supposed to be an exploration of yourself, to find out how much you love yourself, to find out how many different ways you can feel good about just showing up in life and just being vibrant. And I think that's why I always say it's my healing, my journey. It's your journey, it's your healing, for you to direct that path. It's just people that come along the way to empower you and give you that insight on what's possible. What I love most about what you just said, though, was the fact that you talked about dreaming again, giving them the opportunity to dream again and see something different. I know that there's a space that some people get in where they get really stuck. And you talked about suicide, where they just don't want to live. And I've had that I've seen that experience for those who suffer from miscarriages, fertility issues and struggles, still born, like, and that's that grieving process, and that struggle is most importantly real. And it gets to a point where, because of another life, you're unable to truly embrace your life.
Yeah.
What are some of those things that you would probably walk someone through in order to help them reshift that focus or that feeling of grief into something that they could potentially find into good to get that hope back again?
Absolutely. Well, for one, I want to say, you're not alone. I too have 2 angel babies. So I definitely know that journey. I know that process. I know the questions that come with that. But as far as the grieving process go, allow yourself to go through it. The more we talk about grief and the more we talk about the process of it, the better I think most people will be able to heal. So there's this thing that was created by Kubler-Ross. Some people don't go by it no more, but I'm a big believer in it. And what it is, they called it DABDA. So you go through different phases, but these phases aren't necessarily steps. You don't go through one and you complete it and then you go to the next one. No, you sometimes yo-yo in between the different stages and phases. So I do want to put that out there. But the first one is denial. Sometimes we deny that our lives have actually been impacted. For some people, their life completely stops. For others, they pick up and they're like, I'm not even going to think about it. I'm going to keep going. But that denial that my life has actually been negatively impacted by this loss, by this thing. And what people have to understand, grief don't just come when there's a death of a person or a loved one. It comes when there's any transition. It comes when there has been anything that once existed that no longer exists anymore. What do I mean by that? You can go to work one day and lose your job. The grieving process starts right there. You can one day have full, complete health, and then your doctor give you a diagnosis. That is a transition. That's a stop. So we have to understand that when we go through this process and journey, sometimes we deny it because we feel like other people have it worse than us, or we feel like we're by ourselves, so we don't want to go and talk to anybody. And then once we go through that denial phase, eventually we end up going through anger, because that's the realization of, wait a minute, something is off, something is not right. But when you feel by yourself, if doctors can't answer your questions, if you're having a hard time finding employment, if now you got this disease that you didn't ask for and now you got to change your whole lifestyle, I'm angry because I didn't ask for this. Like I didn't go into the doctor's office with a sign on my forehead and say, give me this diagnosis. I didn't walk into that job to say like, hey, let me go. So because of that, I'm angry, man. And I tell people it's okay to not be okay. And anger is not bad. It's what you do with it. So when I really learn that I'm angry, I get a decision to choose whether I'm going to keep going or I'm going to stop and literally hinder my life. Once I get through that anger, then you may find yourself bargaining at that point. What does that look like? That may look like, well, I know I got this disease. However, if I continue to eat in this way and the doctor told me to eat that way, it's okay because I got family members that still live for like 30 years eating this way, so I can do it. It's that space of I'm bargaining with myself. How much can I get away with? How much can I not change? Like, yeah, this thing happened. I'm angry now because it happened, but now I'm in a bargaining phase where I'm really trying to figure out, like, is this really working for me? Is this really helping me? Once we do that, then we finally get to that depression stage because we realize it's just not coming back. Like, whatever it is I lost it for a reason. So because I lost it for a reason, now I'm really depressed because I'm realizing things have really shifted and changed, and I got to really make a difference. I got to change my life. And most of the time, people don't know where to start. You may get a diagnosis from a doctor, a whole bunch of papers, and they tell you do X, Y, and Z. But you're like, what the hell is X, Y, and Z? Like, I've been doing it this way, but now you're telling me I got to eat carrots. I don't like carrots. I'm going to eat pig feet. Like, what you do? Like, it's that space of I'm so depressed because I don't even know where to start. And sometimes we don't know how to say, like, help me, like, literally hold my hand, take me somewhere. And then from there, eventually, once we finally allow ourselves to not be okay, ask for help, then we finally can get to acceptance. What does that look like? That looks like, yes, I can't change my circumstances right now, but I can give my best. Like, I might can't change this diagnosis at all. This may be lifetime threatening or whatever, but I sure can make sure that I am living my best life by making the best decisions for myself. And that's why I tell people, it's not about one size fit all. You got to decide what's going to be best for your life and your life alone. Like, I remember when I was diagnosed with primary bilateral cirrhosis of my liver, it shocked me because most of the time it's because of alcoholism. For me, it was because I was morbidly obese for more than half my life. So the fat literally damaged my liver. And when I first got the diagnoses, I went through the whole stages of grief. But now the acceptance phase, it doesn't mean that I don't do the yo-yo, because I want to go and eat that Philly cheesesteak. My family's from Philly. Like, listen, I want to get a whole hoagie with a bunch of stuff on it, but I know I can't eat that way no more. So it's that space of I am now asking myself what is worth it and what's not worth it. You know, if I make this decision right now, what is it going to do for me in the future? And that is when I know I've kind of gotten to a better space when it comes to grief, because now I'm not allowing for the loss to dictate me, but what I'm allowing is for the life that I still have to live to dictate me. It's a different space. That's how I know I've grieved properly, because I'm now in a space where I can't change the loss, but I sure can live the heck out of my life, you know, for the rest of the time.
And I think that's beautiful how you hit that last note about life over lost. I think that shift is really the pivot for someone, but it definitely takes time. Like, you just walk through all of the different stages and phases, from denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. But it takes time. And a lot of times people don't give themselves the grace and the patience to go through the entire process. And sometimes they need someone to help them go through that process and guide them. Just like you said, I don't know where to start. And people are always saying, do this, do this, do this. And you live in this social media culture now. You see all these people doing all of these different things, but a lot of people still don't tell you, where do I start? And after I start, what's the next step after that for me? And I love that when we were talking before, you say, you told me that you had your own customizable approach, because you have all of these different skill sets that you've acquired over time for your own healing journey, and to be able to further heal your children and everyone else that you come in contact with, because you know what your sole purpose is. But I just feel like so many people don't slow down enough to appreciate and value life, that they won't take the opportunity to truly just try things, because they're so stuck in the familiarity of what they've always done. And when it comes to that aspect, I want you to kind of talk a little bit about getting a diagnosis, trying to figure out what's next for me. I hear what you just told me. Now, how do I navigate through this? I just had an endometriosis brunch on Saturday. And so many people, when you hear this word, like you said earlier, you get this diagnosis and you don't even know what it means. You get all of these papers, or you wake up from excision surgery and they say it was endometriosis. It was stage 4. They tell you all the different things that they had to do while they were in there to try to help clear and clean things up, but there's no cure. What is it? What is that shift that you have to take when it comes to conventional medicine and you go into holistic, natural? How do you blend those approaches, and what does that look like with opening up to exploring something like that?
So I am super huge on enjoying the journey instead of looking at the destination. What do I mean by that? I have an analogy I love to use. I say, if all the lights went out in my house, you know, and it just happened out of nowhere. I see my neighbor's lights are still on. I know I paid my bill. So I'm like, okay, let me try to get to the breaker, right? As I'm trying to get to the breaker, I'm not going to deal with what's on the floor. All I'm going to do is move the stuff to the side until I can go and get to that light. Healing is like that. I don't just turn on the light and now everything changes. I got to move some stuff out of the way. And then when I finally get to the light, then I get to place the things where it's supposed to go. What we try to do is the opposite. We run, turn on the light, and then we try to deal with everything at one time. That is not beneficial. If I allow myself to sit in this dark place and just make a path, start there. What does that look like? That means I might need to look at the people, places, and things that I'm around right now And if it's not bringing me peace, let's start with the simple things. If I already know I have this diagnosis that's going to bring a whole other level of stress, I need to clean shit. Like, I need to get rid of some people, places, and things. I may can't talk to the same people. I may got to change my routine. I may just need to just literally take a step back. Once I do that, now I can deal with the things that's in my room. What does that look like? For some people, it may start with traditional medication. Okay, well, what did my doctor tell me? What was the paper that they gave me? Let me actually read over this paper and see what can I try. Okay, I'm going to try there. That didn't really work. Okay, well, let me research some other ways that other people have gone on with it. I believe that people heal through healing, like hearing other people's stories. That's why this podcast is so dynamic, because now I can go and listen to other people and what they've tried. And I'm going to try one thing and another thing and another thing and another thing. Like, I don't know what it is. I feel like we have become so, and my Christian people, I love y'all to life because I'm Christian too. We have become so religious, we become dumb. There's so many practices out here that really truly heal. When we're talking about endometriosis or anything dealing with your yoni, something as simple as having a weekly yoni steam can heal your womb. People don't know that. What is that? That's sitting on the pot, having some herbs. It feels amazing. You get up from it. And I've known so many women where it literally has healed them. But if I am so afraid to try certain practices because they fall under other religious practices and I don't want to touch it, and now I'm literally stealing myself from being able to truly be healed. It's the same thing with Reiki. When I tell people I'm a Reiki master, or they see my symbol I got tattooed on the back of my neck, like, what are you, Chinese now? No. I've learned a modality to kind of help. So I think sometimes it's about, once we can kind of get into that darkness and really sit down, find that peace, literally shift some things around and prioritize what's going to be most important. And then again, just giving yourself that permission to try something different. Go listen to other people's stories. Go to YouTube University, type in whatever diagnosis you got. And I'm pretty sure somebody's going to share what they did and is going to resonate with you. And don't be afraid to try other things. Like, I'm big on, some doctors are amazing and we know some doctors are not. But you got to advocate and communicate. Like, you can't just be like, oh, okay, you gave me this treatment, let me go try it. No, tell your doctor, I would like to try a more natural, holistic way. And we have natural doctors now that do it with the homeopathic side. So it's just being able to give yourself permission. Like, I think the piece of it is, Les Brown says it this way. He says, most people die at age 30. We just don't get buried until we're 70. Why do I share that? I share that because sometimes when people get a diagnosis, they automatically count themselves out. So a really big step is, yes, I have this diagnosis, but I'm still alive and there's still more days that I need to live. There's this mindset of, you can have 2 patients that's diagnosed with cancer, stage 4, they got to go through the gamut. But if I have one that know I'm still going to live, that person is more likely to have their cancer to go into remission than the person, as soon as they get their diagnoses, woe is me, start selling their assets, start giving up on life. They're going to die because they've already given up, or they're going to live a miserable rest of their life because they heard a diagnosis and they stopped. So I just tell people, like, listen, you still got life. Like, and I know that may sound very convoluted and very complicated, but it's really not. Either you choose to live or you choose to be a walking corpse. It's really up to you, and you have to be the one to communicate your needs. But if you don't know what your needs are, start with researching them. Like, if I get this diagnosis, what are some other things that I want to try? What are things that people, other people have done, and go out and try that. Like, give yourself permission to heal, because there's still more life for you to live.
I absolutely love that, especially talking about a walking corpse. Like, that is so key. And so many times people will say, well, I'm gonna die anyway, so I might as well just do what it is that I want to do. And it's just like, you could, but if you were to eat to live, your life would be so much different, that going towards death, if that's the direction that you plan to go towards. Or you could be eating towards life and continue to enjoy life and love life and be appreciative of life. Because I think when you start eating more lively foods, it's a whole different vibe. Like, it it just makes your body feel different because your body was created to do so. And I'm never someone who like harps down on someone based on what it is that they eat, but it definitely plays a part because it's pretty much what you're putting into yourself that's causing you to be sick, as well as, like you said earlier, the energy that you're believing about yourself, about others, that you're holding on to, that you won't release. And you kind of hit on it, but that's what I kind of wanted to talk to you about, was the fact that you are a confidence coach and a master healer. So I wanted you to tell me a little bit more about how do you believe like confidence plays a role in self-care practices. So we talked about just now, you gave the example of cancer patients, someone who says, I'm going to survive this thing, I'm going to live, versus someone who says, oh my gosh, what are the statistics saying? Am I going to be able to overcome this? Is it even possible? But how do you feel like confidence plays in this role of self-care practices, particularly for people that are dealing with health symptoms that affect their lifestyle and healthy habits, when you got to kind of slide away from the pig feet, like you said earlier, and dive in a little bit more to the carrots?
Confidence is everything, but your confidence has to be based in your value system. If you don't feel like you have any value, any worth, and you value yourself like a McDonald's value meal, then you're not going to take the time out to actually take care of yourself. I tell people self-care is not selfish, it's worship. But I don't know that if I don't know my value, if I don't know my worth, if I don't know that I was created with purpose and with intention. So what I think about myself is what I manifest. So if I don't think that I'm valuable enough to still have breath in my body, like I always do this activity, I say, take a deep breath with me real quick. Let it out. That was literally just someone's last breath. I do that to show people like there's still so much more for you to live. So when we're talking about this confidence piece, we're really talking about, do you believe that your life is worth living? So no matter if it's a physical health diagnosis, no matter if it's a challenge that's coming on, or again, those transitions that we all have, if I don't believe up here that I'm worth my life changing, I'm worth my life being better, I'm worth investing in, I'm not going to make that investment. I'm really not. So a big part of what I do as a confidence coach is I allow for people to embrace who they naturally was created to be. We go over what's the truth, and that is there's no two people that's the same. I know that there's going to be someone who's going to watch this podcast, and I say this all the time, that's going to think everything that I said is a bunch of crap. And it's okay, because my mindset is not going to be your mindset. My desires, how I function, is not going to be how you function. Once we do that, we embrace what makes us different. I'm a whole unicorn in these streets. It's okay. I do things differently, but I've embraced that. And I tell people it's the things that we try to hide from people that are naturally us that really brings forth those things. We go through who you are to your core. I'm really big on the Myers-Briggs personality assessment. So you can know what your personality type is, because sometimes we struggling because we ain't functioning who we truly are. So when I'm talking about confidence to people, it really is embracing fully me, so that regardless of what my diagnosis is, I can still function, I can still go. Like for me, I have a mental health diagnosis and I have medical diagnoses. But you can't tell me Mylira ain't gonna live no full life, because I'm confident and I know in my knowing that I am worth it. I know in my knowing that I'm a gift to the world. When I was suicidal, I didn't think that way. I thought that I literally thought that my family would be better off without me. I felt like I had nothing to offer this world. I felt like, hey, if I'm going to deal with being, having PTSD or being morbidly obese and struggling and all this other stuff, if that's going to be my thing, I don't need to be here no more. But when I really knew that I was, excuse this word, but I knew I was the shit, listen, it changed, because now I can show up confidently and I take care of myself. I'm very big on what I feed myself, and not just food, but what I feed myself with my eyes, with my ears, with conversation, my thoughts, the environments I put myself in. So I just always just tell people like that confidence is everything. It truly, like it literally is the foundation to all that we do. If you don't believe that you are somebody, you're going to treat yourself like a nobody. And that's not going to help you heal at all from the different ailments or whatever you're struggling with.
Confidence is the foundation to all we do. That was beautiful. I absolutely loved it. I do. Because I mean, that's just what it all boils down to. But my biggest thing that I love is when you talked about value, how you value yourself, how you value you, and what you value speaks to you as an existence, as a being. And like you said, it matters with who you talk to. It matters with the environments that you're in. It matters with what you're dealing with, or what you choose to deal with. And all of that boils down to a choice. And I think that's sometimes the biggest piece for me is when people feel so powerless, but they're choosing to be powerless. Because at the end of the day, it's always a choice. Just like when you talked about dreams, like, do you want to dream or do you want to die? Like, it's a choice, and you have to find that time and that space within yourself to say, I want to make this choice, and this is the choice that best aligns with me. And then sometimes, like, I love that we did that breathing exercise, and you just talked about the value of breath, right? I think that breath work is so phenomenal because sometimes our thoughts, our bodies, our life just gets overwhelming sometimes that you forget that you can breathe. And when you breathe, it just really slows things down and it makes you connect back to you because it says, you know what? I do have control of something, and it's my breath. And I think that is so underrated. And I'll say the V word because you just said it, undervalued. And I feel like if more people were taught breath work at a young age, we would have less toxic environments and energies and situations and vibrations around us because we would kind of get back into our power. But that power relies in our confidence, as you just spoke on. And I think that is beautiful. But speaking of breath work, normally that's kind of dealing when it comes to like stress management. So like, what are your go-to stress management techniques for people who are easily overwhelmed or super emotional due to their health conditions, and how can they integrate these practices in their daily lives? Because I work with children too, and I know you're really passionate about how you cultivate your tribe as well. So I mean, this is for any age because I think sometimes people think stress is for adults and grown people when children sometimes go through more stress than some adults probably have even seen.
Yeah, I'm really big on building consistent routines because we've done a disservice teaching people coping strategies because what ends up happening is they only incorporate it when they're actually stressed. So when I'm already stressed, I'm not thinking about incorporating no breath work. I just want to smack you, you know? Like that's how people feel. So I'm really big on routine. And I know for me, you know, I tell people when you wake up in the morning, take a moment just to take a deep breath. You know, I'm big on box breath. So that's when you breathe in 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. Or you can call it reset breaths. And what that helps you do is just regulate your body. You know, take a moment to do that a couple times. Have a spirit of gratitude before you actually put your feet on the ground. Think about everything that you're grateful for. And it can be as small as the fact that I'm grateful that I get to see another day. You know, I'm grateful that there's breath in my body. I'm grateful that I woke up in this room. And even if I'm homeless, I'm grateful that the fact that I get to see another daylight. Like, you know, like really having that type of practice. When you're taking your shower or you're bathing, slow down enough to realize you're cleansing your body. We are primarily water. So what we do is we don't understand human beings heal through being in water. So when I take my shower and I'm making an intention where I'm like, hey, with all the negative energy I have or anything that's going to hold me back today, that joint is going to get washed down inside of that, you know, inside that little thing at the bottom. Like I'm intentional with that. And I think if we begin to create more routines, we won't be as stressed. For adults and even for our young people, I say before you transition into any other role or any other space, take you 3 minutes. If you already late, what's 3 more minutes? Like literally take you 3 minutes to sit in your car before you go into work. Like take home off, take the traffic stress off. Like literally take 3 minutes to sit in your car to recalibrate. Think about all the things that you made it through, what your vision is, what your purpose is. I call it a break breath. Sit there and do that. I'm really big on yoga, super huge on yoga. For little people, there's this thing called cosmic yoga. I do that with my little people before they go to bed. I'm really big on healing sounds. Binaural beats are amazing, and you can go on YouTube. They're free, or download Insight Timer, that's free, and have binaural beats playing for any topic under the sun. They got some for manifesting money. They got some for weight loss. I think I lost a pound, but it's okay. But literally filling your space with that. Comedy for me is a really big stress relief. I go to a comedy show at least twice a month. But finding things that's going to bring you joy. You know, we want an attitude of joy. We're not looking for moments of just happiness. So if I fill my day up with things that's going to bring me happiness, bring me joy, bring me peace, whether that's the people I'm around, the places that I'm going, those routines are everything. So then when something does come and I'm stressed out, I already have things incorporated in my day that's going to help me sit down and not be so impacted by that level of stress, because I know, okay, at 7 o'clock, I got yoga. You know, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to take my breaths. Or I know when I put my kids to bed, before I touch anything else that I need to do, I'm going to take me a moment to myself. If I have that routine, it decreases the need to have that emergency coping strategy, because I already have it incorporated into my day-to-day.
I appreciate all of that insight. My biggest takeaway from that now is that the shower would never be the same for me. I had already called showers or bathing like my spa time. So anybody say, I'm about to go take a shower, I'd be like, enjoy the spa. But I don't have many spa, like literally going to the spa type of ventures on a regular. But I love the fact that you just take any type of anxiety, any type of extra energy that's not calming to you, that you're already thinking about the day, and let it go into the drain. I am going to take that automatic. I don't know if anybody else about to take it, but I picked that one up and I'm going to take it. What I also like is that you talked about yoga, and I know the benefits of yoga. They always talk about that type of movement is so precious and essential and beneficial to the human's body and mind. But if you're not used to it, I grew up dancing, tap, jazz, ballet, lyrical, hip hop, modern. How do you get into that form of embracing yoga for all that it is? How do you start? That's something we talked about before. What's that first step when it comes to trying to start really embracing yoga and appreciating it for the mind and body benefits?
So I would say, one, you got to realize that our bodies are energetic, and the more you move, the more you heal. So even if you are a person that's more into the dance, or like for me, I like Zumba, so I do dance classes all the time. But what made me appreciate yoga was literally me understanding the benefit of being still. Like we run and we chase so much. And then even out of yoga, there's another practice that I adore. And to me, it marries yoga with breath work, and that's Qigong, which is kind of like a sister to Tai Chi, but it's more of body flow than anything. But those two practices, like your yoga and your Qigong, I appreciate them because I'm a person that don't slow down. Like I will tell people, be honest with yourself. Are you someone that literally runs away from your life because you are afraid of success? You are afraid to fail. You are afraid to not fulfill your purpose. If you are a runner, yoga and Qigong is going to be amazing for you, because it's literally going to just make you sit. So for me, I started doing it 5 minutes at a time. Another thing that we like to say is, well, I can't afford to go to a gym. Go on YouTube. They have free versions of it, and you can type it in for almost everything. So I will tell people, a lot of time our procrastination with trying new things is because we have a perfectionist mindset. Procrastination is a byproduct of perfectionism. What do I mean by that? We feel like we need to have it. I need to have yoga pants, a yoga mat, and whatever. Listen, if you got a TV, a phone, something that you can type in, and just do a quick flow, like literally just embrace it. So I'll tell people, always at least try something once that is positive. Let me put that out there. Try something once that is reported to be positive, because you never know if that's going to be the one thing that's going to change your life. And I know so many people that yoga has really healed them. Yoga has been that space of refuge. So for myself, I know with me introducing it to my children, I introduced it to my clients, even my therapy clients. Sometimes for the first 5 minutes, they're doing a yoga flow. I don't know no other therapists that do that, but I make sure that they move their body so that the energy is not stagnant. So if you're someone who's like, where to start on YouTube. Start with acknowledging that you don't slow down. Like if you are just working and moving, and you don't have enough time to do 5 minutes of just sitting down and just allowing your body and your mind to connect, just try it out.
I love it. What stood out the most was the more you move, the more you heal. And I couldn't agree more. But I feel like when you say just try it, a couple of weeks ago I tried Tai Chi, and I did just what you said. I didn't have all this different background. I didn't research everything about Tai Chi. I just looked up like Tai Chi for beginners on YouTube, and I put it on, and I just tried it. And it felt so weird at first and uncomfortable because I didn't know what I was doing. And I think it's something like the perfectionist mindset, and it could because I, like I said, I started as a dancer. That was my first form of disciplined movement. And when you don't feel like you have that instructor right there with you to tell you what your the body part should be, how you properly align, how to, get in certain posture, it felt like, am I even doing this right? Oh my goodness. And then, like we walk in, I'm like, oh. And so it's like one, taking yourself serious, but I was grateful that I tried something new. But it's just like, would I do this again? And it was weird because I didn't hear, the person didn't look like me. I couldn't really understand what he was saying, but I talked about it to one of my friends, and she was like, oh, they do it in Toronto all the time by the water. Everyone's out there just Tai Chiing it up. And I was like, oh, okay. So maybe I'll try it in a class or something, in a disciplined space where more people can kind of show me how to do it than just in my living room. But I thank you for that, because it gives people that opportunity to take the excuses away. And I've done yoga before, hot yoga, regular yoga, Pilates. But again, it's that perfectionist mindset. Is my posture right? Am I doing this position correctly? Is my leg turned the right way? And to me, that's me overthinking instead of just appreciating the fact that my body is moving and I'm showing up for myself at that particular moment in time. So that's why I wanted to ask that question, because I know that yoga is important. I know it's beneficial, and I want to get consistent with it. And so I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about maintaining your motivation. So we already know I'm one of those people too. Many people struggle with consistency, whether it's meal prep, sleep hygiene, workout routines, but particularly when dealing with physical and emotional health challenges. What advice do you have for maintaining motivation in these circumstances?
So one, your motivation can never be external. So if you're doing it for a look, if you're doing it to check a box, if you're doing it for your children, if you're doing it to make more money, if you're doing it for anything outside of you, you failed already. It literally has to become personal. I'm doing this because I want to live more life. That's literally where it boils down to. For me, I know I'm a very consistent person, but when I struggle, it's typically when I make the motivation external, where I want a certain number on the scale, or I want a certain result on a lab report, or I want whatever. Then I'll get my act together. And then because it was external, it don't last that long at all. But when I make a commitment to myself and to my life's purpose, when your commitment is attached to your life purpose, you will be less likely to fail. What do I mean by that? I tell people all the time, my soul's purpose is so huge. I'm just waiting for my flesh to catch up. So if you are in a space where you're waiting for your flesh to catch up, like literally just keep showing up, because when you stop to show up, then you're not going to be committed. So it really goes down to having that internal motivation. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you eating a certain way? Why are you trying to move? Why are you trying to build this level of consistency? But it got to be attached to your purpose. If it's not attached to your purpose, baby girl or king, you ain't going to make it. It ain't going to work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's dope. And the reason why I like that so much It's because so many times you're right. It is an external thing that's driving people to do something. They don't like the way they look. They hate the way that they feel. They want to be able to do this or do that. But if it's external, it'll never be able to go as far as you really want it to go, or be as valuable to you. The effort or the act of what you're doing or how you're showing up won't even be to its fullest potential because it's not internal. So make it personal. I like that. I love it. I love it a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. You're
I
welcome.
can use that. So and I also feel, just taking it back just a little bit, when you are showing up for yourself and you are going on this healing journey for you, it definitely attracts other people because you're doing it and they see you're doing it. And because, people they have businesses, they have coaching practices, they have healing practices and spaces. Yes, you get compensated for that. But if that healer wasn't on their own journey to be able to experience what it is, they couldn't help or influence you while you're on your journey as well. Or I don't even want to say influence, but impact you on your journey as well, because I think that's a really good key point to it. I woke up this morning to a message from someone, and I was, talking to them, and she was like, "You don't even know me, but I'm in tears right now because I feel seen, I feel valued, and I feel loved, and you're giving me hope." And sometimes it's just connecting with the right person that allows you to remember that you're worthy of what it is that you say you want for yourself. And you're the last person to give up on yourself. So you should be the first person to believe in yourself. And it goes back into what you talked about when it came to confidence. And it's easy to lose it, of course. It's definitely easy. And we're not saying that anything that we're talking about today is easy by any means. We're not saying that at all. But we are telling you that it's possible. And we want you to believe in the possibility of getting what it is that you know you're worthy of and that you deserve. But you have to know that for yourself, and you have to believe that for yourself, and you have to feel that feeling for yourself. But we talked about yoga. We talked about mindset shifts. We talked about having a routine. So there is no such thing really as stress, because you've already addressed it and how you showed up for yourself. That stress can't even kind of creep up on you. Can we touch a little bit on the power of journaling for trauma support? Just because I recently just got into journaling. I've always heard about it. I've seen people do it. But it was weird for me to, I won't say weird. It was uncomfortable for me and awkward for me because I never opened my mind up to embracing it and to do it consistently just to see how it would heal. And so my line sister, also known as the mental health homegirl, she was on a podcast and we were talking about mindset as well. And we were talking about grief, and we were saying that energy never dies, and you're major on that when it comes to energy. And so for my line sister that passed away of breast cancer, how we acknowledged, or a part of how we acknowledged her, and she said I should write her a letter. And that was the first time I'd ever wrote a letter for someone who physically wasn't here anymore. And writing the letter was in October, but the energy never dies was just last month. So it took some time, but it had to be the act of me writing the letter, and then her coming to let me know and confirm and affirm that energy never dies, that I could talk to her anytime I want to. I could connect with her anytime I want to. I don't have to feel like she's just gone all the time, So that was my first act of journaling to a certain degree, because I actually wrote a letter, my first grief letter, I would say. But now I've gotten into this achievement inventory journaling, and I had never heard about it until like 2 weeks ago, week before last. And it's definitely a confidence builder. And you might use this in your practice already. I had never heard of it before. And so I've gotten to a place where I will record myself interacting with my achievement inventory journal, because for me, that's my way of accountability. And it's time lapse, like it's fast, like it's going fast. And I'm not doing anything, but I'm seeing myself go through the journey. And it's for me to see, Giovanni, you're doing this thing. Like you're really getting this thing down. And the power of the achievement inventory journal has just been phenomenal for me, because I wake up so confident and ready to go with life that, like I told you before, now I have to start time blocking, because I'm ready to just keep going, because I have belief in myself that, oh, I've overcome so much. I just want to keep going. I just want to keep going. So can you talk a little bit about the power of journaling, and elaborate on how trauma support and mindset change plays a part in journaling, and how does putting thoughts into words actually contribute to our healing?
So this is going to be the radical therapist in me. So I'm just going to go ahead and just give you that. I'm really big on words. All words are spells, and they manifest when you write them down. And what people don't understand, that's why penmanship is so dope. Even when you think about just the Black and brown culture in itself, we were oral people, because when you write it down, it shall come to pass, right? So that's why we spoke our words and not write our words. We don't understand that when you write it down, it has to do something. It has to take on the energy and keep going. So that's the history behind words, right? And then if we bring it to journaling, why does that make journaling so important? Your journal is like, you're going to either write it for your trash can, or you're going to write it for your recycle bin. You got to decide which journal you want. And I tell people, don't write your bad stuff and your good stuff in the same journal. Why? Because again, it has to manifest in a certain way. So if I'm going to write down what's going on in my day and this wasn't a good day, I don't want this to be in the same journal in which I got my gratitude, where I got my achievement, where I got my success, because eventually I'm going to get rid of the journal that has my bad thoughts. I don't go back and touch that one. That's a trash can. I'm just going to dump. I need to get out of me what I feel, because again, there's no feeling that's good or bad. It's what you do with it. A journal helps you not do the bad stuff. It helps you literally acknowledge what's going on. And like I tell people, it's okay to not be okay. But then if I have my other separate journal, where it's my gratitude, and I'm writing down what I want, I'm writing down what I want to manifest, I am literally visualizing the life that I want to live, those words are going to come true. Like, that's why vision boards are so dope. People don't understand. We do vision boards as a fad. It's really not. Your vision board is just that. I am visualizing what I want to manifest. But here's what the issue, and I'm going to bring it all together when it comes to journaling. The issue is, a lot of times people create their vision boards out of their trauma. So I'm going to create of what I don't want. So if I don't want to have, I'm just going to say this for laughs. If I don't want to have an ugly spouse, I'm going to go find the sexiest person I think in this magazine, cut it out and paste it. But what I'm going to end up manifesting is an ugly spouse, because I picked the handsome person because I don't want the ugly spouse. Like, literally, I'm going to manifest whatever I'm focused on. So when I am journaling, I'm intentional about my journaling. Am I doing this to get rid of it? Am I doing this to literally disperse? Or am I doing this to create? That is the power of your words. You got to understand, your words are spells. It has to manifest. It has to come to pass. That's why they say there's power in life in your tongue. But what I say from here comes from my thoughts. What I think, I'm going to write it down. So when I'm journaling and I'm teaching people to journal, it's really intentional. So how do we become consistent? We become consistent by understanding that every day you're creating history. So if I don't document my history, how am I going to go back and learn my lesson? How am I going to be prepared for my future? I can't do that. You know, it's bigger than the diary. You know how people used to do the diaries and all secret and stuff? No, like, your journal is really your space to self-reflect. Like, that is your moment to go through your day and say, hey, I'm going to leave this into this day. This ain't coming with me tomorrow. You know, it's just that space to just self-reflect. So that's what I do when it comes to journaling. It just helps you manifest the life that you really want to live. And you begin to shift some of your words. When I write it down and I realize how sad and depressed I am, I'm going to go do something different. But if I don't ever write it down, how do I really know I'm sad and depressed? How do I know that I'm really not living the life I want to live if I don't jot it down? So that's the piece when it comes to the journaling. As far as the trauma, I smiled when you talked about your letter. So one of the biggest activities I do is called the Inner Child Healing Letter. And I primarily do it in my grief stuff, where I will get somebody to, and it's a long process with it, because it deals with your unconscious, your subconscious, and all of that. But when you write a letter to whoever has passed or whoever has caused you trauma, we do it with the hand that is non-dominant, because the hand that's non-dominant is actually attached to your unconscious. And what ends up happening is the trauma you is balled up in a little teeny ball back here in the back of your head. So it allows for that small you to kind of stand up. I get them to write that letter. They read it to themselves. Nobody deal with it. But I'm a person, we have to do another side. So with your dominant hand, the one you do write with, that's your power. That's what got you through. That's how you can keep riding, when life is knocking you down. But I'm going to write a letter of power. They get rid of that other letter, and then they read the one of power out loud. And this is where I realize words are so powerful, where I've had people who have had trauma for 15 years and did that activity like, oh my God, I'm able to be free. So it just provides that freedom. So I know that was a lot, but that's how I kind of utilize the words and journaling and all that.
I don't think it was a lot at all. I think it was right on point and very, very valuable. And I think that's the beautiful part of hearing you speak. And because you are so wise in all of your different healing modalities and in your experiences with yourself and with other people, that you can take us through the process of why we get into where we're getting to. Because it's more about the process, like you said, than it is about the actual destination. And so I'm grateful for the walkthrough and the answer. And to me, it allows me to learn more about it, because I really want to get into a place where it's a part of the routine in my classroom to allow my kids to journal. And I've always said this is what I want us to do. And I've pulled prompts out before, but I've never created that time and that space for them to continue to do it. And last Friday, we did an activity with a community organization, the Girl Scouts, with us. And we called it a baggage activity. And they wrote down the things that they believed in themselves, overthinking, all the different stuff. And then on the other side, they had to change the narrative about those things. And then we all balled it up and we tossed it, and we kind of talked about certain things that was on it anonymously. And of course, I participated because I love my classroom to be a safe space. And I always want to be seen as a human to my students, because they are too. But it was good learning their thought process and even having good quotes. And I stress affirmations to them in the morning. I got them doing announcements for affirmations. And so if they're in my classroom, I have to hear the affirmations, because I want them to have that confidence. I want them to hear themselves say the things that I want them to believe about. And so it was a beautiful activity. But the fact that you broke it down, recycle or trash, and you can't put those things in the same place, it clicked for me. So I don't know if it clicked for anybody else. If there's some expert journaling people out there, okay. And if not, and you don't know where to start, that's why I asked the question. That's exactly what it is. You have a trash journal and you have a recycle. And that achievement inventory, the gratitude is so beautiful and invigorating to come back and read your own words about what you were grateful for, to add to that, or add to your achievement journal, what you overcame, the challenges, what you accomplished. Like, it's such a beautiful feeling to flip through, especially if you get to go write. And I've done it, and I've seen myself doing a video, and I'm like, well, what else do I want to write about? And I just go back and look at a few other bullets, a few pages out, and I'm like, oh, I did do that. And it makes me think about other things, and you just want to keep writing. And so I think journaling is a definitely powerhouse when it comes to the healing process. And I thank you for elaborating on it. So I just wanted to say that as well, because it's really, really cool. So I just kind of want you to tap in a little bit on your specific condition. All right. So when you think about having to create different lifestyle adjustments, because you're a person of routine, have you had to make any dietary adjustments or lifestyle changes since you were diagnosed? And if so, what changes have you found to be the most beneficial for someone with PBC? And you can say again what that diagnosis is. I don't want to mess it up.
Oh, no problem. So I have primary bilateral cholangitis of my liver. Most of the time it turns into cirrhosis, and it's from alcoholism. Mine was different. So I got my autoimmune disease because of my obesity, and my journey was different. I actually found out on my birthday about 5 years ago that I had this diagnosis. And for me, I literally had to change my entire life. If I did not get the gastric sleeve, which also came with some health complications, my doctor was like, either we gonna break your hip or you gonna lose some weight. And I'm saying here, like, I've been trying to lose weight since I was 13, homie. So I don't know what you want me to do, but you're sure not touching my hips. So let's go ahead and get this sleeve. And because of that, they did a liver biopsy, and that's where they found out I had my ducts that was damaged. It's been 5 years now. It's dormant, so which is a beautiful thing. However, if I don't maintain a consistent lifestyle, which is why I'm really big on what I eat, and like sometimes people may not understand why I eat certain things, but I do it because the moment, and this is what the doctor told me because it's really serious. She was like, the moment that we can tell it is a stage is a moment you have to be placed on medication, and you're on medication for the rest of your life until you get a liver transplant. And for me to hear that, I'm like, first off, homie, I ain't drinking. So I'm trying to figure out how I got this diagnosis. But secondly, I want to be alive for my children. I want to be alive for my future spouse. Like, I want to be alive for the people that mean something to me. And I can't do that if I don't take care of myself. So it came with sacrifices. Like, your girl like to eat, okay? I like to eat food. But with me liking to eat food, there was a lot of lifestyle changes that I had to make. I have to make sure that I'm active. If I'm not active, it doesn't work. I got to get checked twice a year to make sure that my numbers are still where they're supposed to be. I got to get a fibro scan each year. So like literally I have to change my routine. I have to change how I show up for myself. I have to change how I eat. I have to change how I function. And it was hard at first because it put my family in like a frenzy. They're like, where'd you get an autoimmune disease from? Because the first thing that they said was it's hereditary. And they like, it's not hereditary in the sense of someone will have the same autoimmune disease that I have, but if someone in my family has it, so like I have some people who have MS in my family and things like that. And I'm like, well, why the heck did it hit me? But it came to, I had to start going to therapy. 2.5 years ago, I started therapy because I wanted to make sure that I was okay. Because that's a big thing. Like, I didn't know what to do with it. First off, I wasn't looking to be sick. I was just looking to lose some weight. That was it. And then you walk away finding out that you have a disease for the rest of your life. And then thirdly is just this point of me realizing life means so much more to me than to keep my same habits. So if you are someone who got a diagnosis and they're telling you to change your lifestyle, it goes back to what I told you that Les Brown says. Most people die at age 30. We just don't get buried till we're 70. So last year when I turned 30, it hit me where I did do a lifestyle change. I hired a personal trainer, a life coach, because I was like, yo, like, I ain't about to be no walking corpse. I really need to live in my purpose. So for me having this diagnosis, it changed my lifestyle. It changed how I show up. It changed how I view food. It changed how I function for sure. Because again, life means so much more. I got too many people lives that's attached to me for me to not change my lifestyle, for me to not change what I need to do, for me to not go and get checked for my doctor and things like that. And I don't want no liver transplant. So if I don't want that, then I have to do the things I need to do to maintain not being on any of the stages. Because again, once it starts to progress, there's no, coming back. Like, you don't get back to the ground level. So I definitely had to make a lot of changes.
I love it. I think my biggest bar out of all of that was life means more than habits. And it goes right back to what you value. And what you value goes right back into, like you said, the confidence. And so I see how the process goes for you. And I love it because so many people are stuck when it comes to habits. And just like you, I'm a foodie as well. Like, I love good food experiences. And I think that's been the biggest point for me is that, and that's why it's called the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, because you got to put food up in there. It's just being more mindful of what you're eating, but still enjoying what you're eating because it's still good. Like, no one's saying, oh, eat all of this food that you don't enjoy just to live more life. Like, that's not enjoyable. And that goes right back to what you said. What gives you joy? Not just what makes you happy or what makes you stress free. What gives you joy? Go to the comedy show, be happy, be vibrant, be appreciative of the life that you have every single day that you have it. And so I guess my next question would be, what advice would you give someone who's been recently diagnosed with PBC?
I will tell that person it's not a death sentence. It's really not. Follow your doctor's orders. Like, and I could be biased because as a therapist, either you can listen to me or not listen to me. But one person I am going to listen to, honey, is a doctor. Now, if I try and it don't work, then it just don't work. But I would just say listen to the doctor. They're going to give you step by step what it is that you need to do. I don't know what stage that person may be in. For me, I'm grateful that they caught it early enough that now I'm at a good level. But whatever they tell you to do it. Change your lifestyle. Don't drink as much. I know for me, I'm very mindful of how much I drink and stuff like that too, because that can exasperate it as well. And get a good support system. Like, have people in your corner that knows that you can't eat everything, and they ain't gonna be mad when you say, okay, I'm still gonna go out with you, but when I get this little kid plate, don't judge me, don't judge my life, because this is what I'm gonna get. Like, get people around you that care about your life just as much as you do, that's going to support you. Like, it's going to take a village. Like I tell people, we're all like cell phones. You can only do this joint 80% of the time by yourself. There's when that 20% come, you get either cancel or energy save. By the time you put cancel, you might as well have plugged that joint anyway. So for me, I love my hitters. I love the people that get me from 20% to 100%. I cannot do this by myself. So I will tell that person, if you just got a diagnosis, listen to the doctor, make the appropriate changes that you are okay with, and get you a village, get you a squad, somebody that's going to remind you, like, yo, you still got life to live. I got little people to live for. I got people that love me to live for. So me being, down in the dumps and low, which I'm going to have some of those days, depending on how I feel. Like, I will say one symptom I do have. So I get a lot of itching. So for me, because of the way that my liver now does things, if I don't take my medication every day, I would literally be on fire. Like, that is one thing that I do experience from it. So I will have people that they see me like scratching or something, like, you didn't take your medicine, did you? I'm like, I woke up late, my bad. And they like, no, go take your medicine. Like, you need people that's going to remind you, like, you choose your value of your life. So that's what I'll say. Like, do those 3 things and you'll be okay. Like, it's not a death sentence unless you make it a death sentence.
Understood. I appreciate that. I do. And I hope they catch and receive all of that. Once they hear this episode, if they're feeling overwhelmed, because the whole purpose is not to be down and out about it, but to feel empowered. And I've been empowered about your journey. I've been empowered about the impact that you've had thus far and the skill sets that you've navigated through. And because of that, and because you did the work and you're visible and you're vocal, we get to be able to be blessed by that. And so thank you for doing that. And thank you for sharing that insight with anybody that could receive it and are willing to receive it. So you talked about the little people. This is the second to the last question. So this part is for like girl dads or father figures or male role models who are raising young women, or it could even be someone who is adult in an adult relationship. But what is that insight, or what is your professional or your personal insight on how to really support girls as they go through menstrual health? Because we don't typically talk about that. They kind of expect a female to have the female conversation. And I want menstrual health to be a part of the normal conversation, just like physical health or mental health, because it's still full body. It's still you. And I want to bring men into that conversation. So if there is something that's abnormal, like chronic pain or nausea or low back pain, and it starts to go like in the endometriosis or polycystic ovary syndrome, and then now you're wondering why you with somebody and you might have fertility, struggles. What is that? What's that insight that you would give those father figures and male role models for these young girls?
So as you were talking, I was trying to find the most appropriate way to say my answer. And I will say your yoni is made for more than sex. If men can understand that the female's yoni, I'll call it that for a more appropriate term, is made for more than reproduction, is made more for sex, is made more for pleasure, they will take more attention to when it's not showing up the way that's normal. So, for example, you have so many young girls that deal with endometriosis for years at a time, but because nobody is listening to their pain, they just think it's a normal cycle. They tell you, now you can have babies, go get on birth control, do this, do that. Because people don't really talk about it, you can even have what they call the post-menstrual, they call it PMDD, which is when your hormones are so out of whack. Sometimes it shows up like bipolar disorder, and it's really not. It's just your cycles is messing with your hormones. So when we stop sexualizing everything with the body, we can have those conversations. Like, everything doesn't need to be birds and the bees. Everything doesn't need to be reproduction. Like, some things need to just be like, baby girl, when your cycle come on, are your cramps good or are they bad? Give me a scale. How light are you? How whatever. And it don't have to always be the mom asking those questions. So then when we do have the birds and the bees talk, then now I feel comfortable enough to tell my spouse I have feminine issues. There are some women that know that they cannot reproduce, but they don't want to tell their significant other because don't nobody want to have that conversation. So I think if we unsexualize bodies, it will make these conversations a little more okay. And then also, even when it comes to men being able to share how these things with women impact them as well. Being a mother of 2 angel babies and having 2 miscarriages, one was more traumatic than the first one. But the one thing that I prided myself on with my ex-husband was allowing for him to say, I'm not okay. So, like, if there's more dads that can say, hey, when this happened to my significant other, or when we lost our child or whatever, this is how I was impacted, or my girl can't have a child, or I can't have a child. If we have more of those conversations amongst our friend groups, it will help our younger people have those conversations too. So I just think, again, like I said, if we just unsexualize everything with the body and just talk about what the heck it really is for, we'll have less men in the dark of what's really going on with women. Or they'll be able to say, hey, baby girl, like, every time it's about to be on your cycle, you real mean. Like, and us being okay with them telling us that, to be like, you know what, let me go get checked because something else might be going on with me right now. So that's what I would say.
I appreciate that. I do, because that's the whole aspect of it. Because if I can talk to you about my headache, why can't I tell you about the cramps that I might feel? Mm-hmm. And then who's to say that when you ask them, because you're the biggest thing I heard was stop sexualizing the conversation. And then the second thing I heard was check in. Because if you checked in, you're building that trust, you're building that relationship, you have that rapport. And I'm not always just talking to you during this time of the month just to see how you are. So those are like the biggest things that I took away from that, which I think is very important. Because a lot of times people don't know what is normal. How do I know my period experience isn't a normal period experience? But if my mom or someone that loves me, looking out for me, is talking to me about it, when I go to the doctor, I can already say, well, this is what I'm typically experiencing. Versus if I never have to articulate it and I've never said it out loud, I'm just going to be like, well, I'm cool. I'm not even telling them any insight because I'm thinking it's just normal. Like, that's not nothing you need to know because everybody probably having the same experiences I'm having. So I appreciate you for that. Check in and stop sexualizing it, because communication is key. And in addition to that, when you speak and express yourself, you're freeing yourself. Whether it's to say I'm not okay or to say you are okay, or whatever matter it is. And the more you free yourself, the more you can be your authentic self, and you start building that confidence. Come on, confidence coach. And when you have that confidence, now you're able to talk about what it is that is good, what's not good, and just being who you really truly are without having to think so much about who I have to be or who wants me to be something else, or if I'm okay or if I'm not okay. Because of a diagnosis, now I need to be in this. I feel like it's like this, I don't want to say victim mindset, but it's like, oh, because I have this, then it's like all these different things that you want to get a pass for. versus like you're allowing that diagnosis to be your identity instead of it being you are who you are. And this kind of came up in your life, but you're addressing it and you're not, owning it or taking it. Yeah. So I think that's what it kind of boiled down for me. But last question.
Okay.
If you could have a meal with anybody, any historical figure, who would it be and what would you all eat?
Okay. If I could have a meal with any historical figure. Okay, so I would want to sit down with Jesus, honestly. And I don't even think I would want to eat. I genuinely just want to sit down and talk to him and see like how in the world was he having a human experience but yet lived a perfect life. Because I genuinely want to, when people see me, they feel like they've been in the presence of God and not in like no God complex and reverence me and bow down to me. No, nothing like that. But I want people to genuinely feel unconditional love. I want people to genuinely feel like they have somewhere that they're accepted. I want to be able to live an upright life. And I just feel like the Bible don't do justice of what Jesus really did. And I want to be like, yo, homie, like sit with me and really tell me, like, how did you make it through this life? Because I'm a little cray because they make me this way. So, so that's who I would want to sit down with. It would be the homie Jesus, honestly. Because I reverence just not just the purpose of why he was here. I think we focus so much on his death and resurrection, which I'm so grateful for, but we missed his life. This man lived a life like a unblemished life, and I want to see how he was able to do that. So that would be my person.
I like it. I like it. You're not the first person to eat with Jesus, but you are the first person to eat with Jesus without a meal, but to really sit and talk to him about what it is that you just spoke on. So I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Any last words that you would like to give the people here on the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives? Any last message, seed you want to plant in case they want to harvest it later?
I would just say, just be you. Like I said, I have diagnoses, both mental and physical, but it didn't stop my purpose. I'm still a therapist. I'm still a life coach. I'm still a Reiki master. I still do a bunch of other things under all of that. But I'm not impacted by the diagnoses. So what I will say is, don't allow for that cut on your hand to be your identity. You still are more than that. You still are more than your challenges. You still are more than your traumas. You still are more than the decisions that you got to make sure that you maintain a healthy life. Your life is worth living, man. And be bold with it. Like, listen, I'm gonna still be this same Black girl, long nails, bright behind hair, whether I go to the White House or I'm going to go speak in front of the Grand Poobah himself. I don't give a flip phone. Like, literally embrace who you are, because once you do that, when I walk in a room, and I said this before, but I want for people to walk away from this literally understanding, when I walk in a room, the energy shifts and I don't even have to say anything. Like, and I want for people to have that. Like, I want you to embrace the amazingness of who you are, that before you even part your lips and you tell anybody your story, they look at you and they say, yo, there's something different about that person. And embrace that. Like, I don't look at my diagnoses as my kryptonite. I look at it as my superpower. It makes me be able to actually better understand other people and what they're dealing with. I might not have cancer, but I do have this condition that if it goes a different way, it can be bad. So because I know that, I'm going to be more empathetic to that person. So I just want you to know, look, be you. Whatever that looks like, don't stop living just because you got a diagnosis. Don't stop living. As to my women, if you have feminine issues, you are bigger than the title of being a mother. Like, I want you to hear that. I'm a mother, and sometimes I'm telling you, it's real ghetto. So, I'm just saying. But really being serious, just want you guys to keep living. Don't stop living just because you were diagnosed with something. You're bigger than your health. You're bigger than the diagnoses. And you're bigger than the lifestyle changes that you got to make to keep being alive. But just don't stop living, because you're definitely worth it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mylira. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. Do you want to let everybody know where they can find you, connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can find me at www.myliratransforms.com. I am Mylira Transforms on Instagram. I'm an old soul, so I'm more on Facebook. So just type in Mylira Green. And this number that has been up here this whole time, I always share because there's no need for you to suffer by yourself. It is a real number that comes directly to me. So 757-609-0694. Because I don't want people to be like, okay, I heard everything that you said, but I really don't know where to start. Hit me up and I'll help you. And even if you're not in my area, I will research with you and make sure you're okay. And people who know me, they know like I will do that. So that's where you can find me at. And I'm just hopeful that something I shared makes your life a little bit better.
Well, I know it made mine better. So I appreciate it all the way. And I'm grateful that you were able to come on and embrace us with your presence and your knowledge and your light and your love here on the Powered Plates and Powered Lives podcast. Y'all, it's been an amazing time in the studio with Mylira. Man, it's been amazing. I greatly appreciate it. But y'all already know it's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Giovanni. In the description of this video is an anti-inflammatory guide because we know that inflammation causes a lot of problems in the body. So it is free just for you. If you're someone that has experienced issues with endometriosis, adenomyosis, PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, or fibroids, there's also a free guide for you to kind of go through some of the things that we talked about today, which is my M to the third degree healing formula. That's 1, mindset, 2, mindful eating, and 3, movement. And we talked on various subjects and topics in regards to those 3 things because they're very important on your healing journey. But remember, just because what has been working for us, we're not telling you it's going to work for you. We just want you to keep an open mind and do what you feel led to do. But know that you're worth it, you're valuable, and you deserve the life that you want for yourself. So keep dreaming and know that it's possible. We love you. We thank you. But most importantly, thanks for vibing with us, y'all.